The mayor's here. Councilor Darcy, LaFosse, Councilor Dunn, Durkee, Harris, O'Brien, myself, Councilor Stanley.
It scrolls the
Councilor Darcy, LaFosse,
Councilor Harris is present.
O'Brien, myself, Councilor Stanley.
it scrolls the
Councilor Harris is present.
O'Brien, myself, Stanley.
it scrolls the
Councilor Harris is present.
one.
Assistant Clerk Vizard, if you could just remind people that during the meeting, if they remain muted, if not, they will be heard. Background noises will be heard.
Yeah. So when you're not talking, it's important that you use the mute button. Otherwise, either your name will pop across the screen, or we'll hear you, or So if you can leave it on mute when you're not speaking, it's helpful.
A question, Mr. Clerk, is that Paul? Is that Paul Brasco that I see as Paul, and then Paul Centofanti is?
I think. Let me. Paul Brasco, will you talk for a second?
That is me, the one and only Paul.
Okay, I can change.
That's fine. Thank you.
Second best to Paul Centofanti.
Thank you.
I just gotta find you more. Rename.
So if you think we're ready to go, Mr. Clerk, it is 8 o'clock and I'm ready to begin.
Okay, yeah, I'm all set. I'm gonna go on mute myself.
We ready to go? Okay. Good evening, everyone. The Committee of the Whole of the Waltham City Council will come to order. Tonight is Monday, November 16th, 2020. The time is 8 o'clock p.m. Before I ask the clerk to call the roll, we are broadcasting remotely on Zoom out of an abundance of caution and safety for the members of the public as well as the members of the City Council. And if I might ask, is there anyone else who would be recording this meeting? Would you please identify yourself and let the clerk know? None, seeing none, thank you. Clerk Centofanti, if I might ask, would you please call the roll?
President Brasco.
Present.
Councilor Darcy.
Present.
Councilor Dunn.
Present.
Councilor Durkee.
Present.
Councilor Harris.
Present.
Councilor LaCava.
Present.
Councilor LaFosse.
Present.
Councilor LeBlanc. Councilor LeBlanc. Councilor Mackin.
Present.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Present.
Councilor O'Brien.
Present.
Councilor Paz.
Present.
Councilor Stanley.
Present.
Councilor Vidal.
Present.
Vice President McMenimen.
Present. And the tally, Mr. Clerk, is how many present?
14 present, 1 absent.
Thank you very much for your response. So I will entertain a motion from any member who wishes to approve the minutes of the meeting of November 2nd, 2020.
Councilor
Madam
Brasco,
Chairman, those have not been distributed yet.
Sorry, I will not entertain that motion. That's withdrawn. Thank you very much. We can expect it within the next meeting, I assume, Mr. Clerk,
Yes.
is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Could I ask the clerk if you would read the first matter on the agenda?
yes. A vote of the school committee pertaining to the surplus of the Fitch School.
So I have that communication from the mayor, and basically at the regular meeting of the Waltham School Committee meeting held on November 4th, the following vote was taken. Voted on a motion of Mrs. Gately, seconded by Mrs. Al-Jamal, to surplus the Fitch School to the city of Waltham. All members of the school committee voted in the affirmative. Mr. Clerk, would you advise us to accept the vote, to have a motion to accept the vote of the school committee to surplus the Fitch? Mr.
Yes,
Clerk?
Madam. Chair. Yes,
Okay, I would entertain that motion. Is somebody going to make that motion?
Councilor Brasco, I make the motion to accept.
Thank you,
communication.
Councilor Brasco. Councilor Brasco makes the motion to accept the vote of the school committee pertaining to the surplus of the Fitch School. On that motion, all those who are in favor, please.
Aye.
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 Indicate by aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Anyone who is opposed? The ayes have it. By your vote, you have voted to accept the vote of the school committee pertaining to the surplus of the Fitch School. The clerk, please, would you read the next matter?
yes. In updated communication concerning the recommendation of the police chief for the location of the new police station.
Thank you. I also have that communication here with me. I see Council President Brasco, your hand is raised. You have the floor. Councilor Brasco. Unmute yourself, please, Councilor Brasco. There you go.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I apologize for that. I did not unmute myself. This was a communication provided to us from the police chief that is now dated. I didn't mute myself. This was a communication.
We're losing you, Councilor Brasco. We can't hear what you're saying. Please repeat what you're saying. We've
This
lost-
communication was a recommendation provided to us from the police chief that came into us dated, and I'm just trying to pull this information up in front of me so I can have it, dated November 4th, 2020. We have an item which I had asked that this be attached to on our docket currently dated December 26, 2018, Waltham Police Headquarters Site Selection Committee communication. Our last communication relative to this matter was of March 4th, 2019. I'd asked that this matter be attached to that matter so it would be current as of this time frame. The request was given to us by, or the recommendation was given to us from the mayor, or from the chief of police to the mayor and forwarded on to the city council with regards to three locations of choice for the building of a new police station. As I said previously, we've talked about this for years, getting back to 2014. My hope was that we could move forward. As I mentioned at the last meeting, my intention has always been to build and construct a new police station on its current location at 155 Lexington Street. This evening, looking at the request and communication that came from the chief and the recommendation, I would like to move forward a request and put forth this evening a request based on the communication that came from the chief of police in the 5th paragraph with regards to the 155 Lexington Street, considering the logistics, a feasibility study would need to be conducted to determine if the current site is a viable and cost-effective option for the construction of a new police station. My request is that the mayor conduct a feasibility study with regard to determining if this site is viable and cost-effective. That's my request, Madam Vice President.
So, thank you. Before I ask for a vote on the request, I'm just pulling up my own council committee docket. Again, okay, so the matter of 12/26/2018 in the committee of the whole, which says Waltham Police Headquarters Site Selection Committee's communication. And that was from the mayor. You're requesting that that tabled matter, which contains 1, 2, 3, 4 indications all the way back to 2018. You're requesting that that matter be merged under the most current matter that we are dealing with this evening. Is that right? That's the first request.
That is correct. That is my request.
So on that request to merge that matter with the most recent matter, and I'm trying to get the pages here correct. Just a minute, please. Okay, and that would be to merge it with today's matter that we have before us, 11/9, last Monday's matter, 11/9/2020, that came into the communication, so that in that box, all of the matters regarding the location of the police station site will be listed with this matter being the top. So you understand the sense of that merging. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Is that a yes or a no? I guess you're all for it. Okay, so by your vote, you have merged those two communications with the 11/9/2020 update at the top of the list. And then Councilor Brasco, would you repeat the request that you just made again so everybody understands it?
Madam Vice President, my request is that the mayor be allowed to do a feasibility study considering the logistics for the current site and make sure it is a viable and cost-effective option for the construction of a new police station at the location of 155 Lexington Street in Waltham.
Oh, thank you very much, Council President Brasco. You all understand the sense of the motion. On the motion, any discussion?
Madam President, Vice President, I apologize. I raised my hand in Zoom, but I'm willing to wait if other people have priority.
Councilor Mackin, your hand is up. I recognize Councilor Mackin on the motion. I'm sorry, on the.
Thank you. Thank you. Through you to the Council President, I'm interested if the intention is to consider both the current footprint of the police station and the current footprint of the city yard, or to provide both options in the feasibility report, the current footprint only or current plus city yard.
Madam Vice President, through you to the Councilor from Ward 7 to address that question. Again, I apologize. Maybe I didn't make that myself clear. The option of using the current CPW location should be added to that request, considering the ability to use the current CPW as well as the current location of the existing police station to construct a new police station. So yes, I am looking at the possibility of using that entire parcel.
All right, thank you for clarifying. I am supportive of that plan and I will support this request. Thank you. I am finished with my comments.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Councilor Mackin. Is there any further discussion? So you all understand the sense of, is there a request for roll call?
Yes, please.
Councilor Brasco makes a request that the clerk will call the roll, please, on his request.
President Brasco,
Yes.
Councillor Darcy,
Yes.
Councillor Dunn,
Yes.
Councillor Durkee,
Yes.
Councillor Harris,
yes,
Councillor LaCava,
Yes.
Councillor LaFosse,
Yes.
Councillor LeBlanc,
Yes.
The
Council-
clerk, excuse me, the clerk will call Councilor Blank, please.
Councillor LeBlanc,
Are you present?
Present.
Thank you.
thank you. Councillor Mackin,
Yes.
Councillor McLaughlin,
Yes.
Councillor O'Brien,
Yes.
Councillor Paz,
Yes.
Councillor Stanley,
Yes.
Councillor Vidal,
Yes.
14,
The chair wishes to vote.
Vice
And
President.
I vote yes.
15 in favor, none opposed.
By your action, you have approved the request of Council President regarding the location of the feasibility study for the location of the police station with the possibility of the CPW as well. Thank you very much. Before, there are no more new items, and before we adjourn, I would like to first ask Councilor Dunn if you would like to take the item dated 4/8/2019, recommendation that 102 Tremont Avenue be put out to bid or auction by the city treasurer and purchasing agent. That is a very lengthy history to it. Would you like to make a motion to file that, since we've been finished with that business?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Vice President. I would like to request that that item be filed.
So you all understand the sense of Councilor Dunn's request, the Council of Ward 2. On that request to file, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. And then I would like to go to, on the Committee of the Whole docket, to the item dated 8/3/2020, the property located at 89 Maple Street. We, as far as I know, we have completed that matter of giving care, custody, and control to the Waltham Fire Department. Councillor Harris, is there something you would like us to do with that item?
at this time, no, Madam Chair.
You do not wish to file that item?
Not at this time.
All right, thank you very much. That is all that I have, unless someone else has something they wish to take off the table. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:16 PM on Monday, November 16th.
Council Brasco makes a motion to adjourn.
Council Brasco makes that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Stay safe and have a great night. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Good evening.
Finance will meet here immediately. Clerk Sanfani, whenever you are ready, I believe all the members should still be here and be ready.
Okay. Councillor LaFosse,
Present.
Councillor Mackin,
Present.
Vice President McMenimen,
Present?
Councillor Vidal,
Present.
Chairman LaCava.
Present. So, Mr. Clerk, on you. Do we have minutes?
Have those not been distributed yet?
We'll leave that on the table.
Yes.
The next item.
A communication from the mayor requesting a transfer of funds totaling $1,360,000 to fund the first 2 years, fiscal 20 and fiscal 21, of the 3-year collective bargaining agreement with the firefighters union.
Now, this is something could you give us a quick synopsis here?
So the firefighters union consists of all firefighters and officers, excluding only the chief. This is a 3-year deal with compensation that is consistent with what we have settled with other unions. One of the concessions that we did receive from the union is a reduction and a freeze on their ability to cap personal days and vacation days in the bank. Under the previous contract, firefighters could accumulate or bank up to 20 vacation days and 30 personal days that would be redeemed upon their retirement or resignation. What we were able to successfully bargain, putting a cap on those days that they currently have, and no further accumulation to those banks. So a new firefighter that comes on the job would not have that ability to bank any days, personal or vacation. That has a positive impact on our long-term liabilities that are often expressed in our financial statements.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. I do not. Do I see anything? I have a little trouble with my screen here. Do I have any councilors who wish to
Someone
speak?
has her hand up.
Councilor Mackin, you said?
No, McMenimen.
No, Councilor McMenimen.
Oh, I have the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Santafanti, I want to ask a couple of questions first. So the money's coming out of your budget of collective bargaining to two separate line items, the 5111 and 5112, fire salary, fire wage, full-time. Could you explain to us what the difference is between each of those?
Yes, the fire salary account for those officers, lieutenant and above, the wage account for the firefighters.
So similar to the Superior Police and the rank and file unions, there are two separate unions. Is that what we're doing here?
No, there's only one firefighters union. It includes all firefighter and
Both
ranking members.
categories, both categories.
Correct.
And my next question is the way you have distributed the FY 2020, FY 2021 line items to get to the total of 1,000,003. So that's for this fiscal and next fiscal, but the third fiscal you're going to put into the FY 2022 budget?
Right. Fiscal 20 is the prior fiscal year, and fiscal 21 is the current fiscal year. And as you expressed, the 3rd year of the contract will be requested in the mayor's fiscal 22 budget.
And that will take us to June, and then of course it all begins all over again. So then that's good. I mean, that's all of next year. So could you tell the committee, please, Mr. Santafanti, how many of the unions across the city departments have settled now?
Both police unions, the mechanics, the managers, the laborers, which will be discussed in a moment, the firefighters, the librarians. The only two unions still outstanding are the 911 dispatchers and the school traffic supervisors. And we're actively bargaining with those folks and hope to wrap those up fairly soon.
And if and when that finally happens, all unions will then be settled through June of 2022?
Correct.
Very good. Well, then, all of that being said, having been here for many years in which there has been reluctance on the part of some of the unions for different reasons to be, to agree to their contracts. This is a great thing for all of us, for them, for the mayor. So I'm going to make a motion for approval of the $1,360,000 as itemized in the communication from the mayor.
Thank you, Madam Dean. On the motion, I see Councilor Mackin took her hand down, so that question was asked by the dean. So we've all heard a sense of the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. That is approved.
The next matter is a communication from the mayor requesting the transfer of funds totaling $348,850 to fund the first 2 years, fiscal 20 and fiscal 21, of the 3-year collective bargaining agreement with the Teamsters Union, who represent our labor force.
Mr. Clerk, please.
Do I have the floor?
If you'd like to lead us off, please, Madam Dean.
Thank you. I have my hand up there. So let's see here. So again, this has come out of your budget, Mr. Stefani, too. And then there are several line items in the wages for both full and part-time within the various laborers unions. And there's an allowance in here for the wires for tool. And then the building, CPW, water, sewer, library licenses. Could you explain that? And recreation, traffic and wires licenses. What are those, please?
Sure. So this particular union represents the hourly employees that represent different departments across the city: public works, building, water and sewer, recreation, and so on. The compensation package is the same, 2, and 2, that all other unions are receiving. In addition, is a way of encouraging advancement, encouraging better trained employees. There are increases in licenses that these workers can obtain, and that is some of the expected increase that may result from employees obtaining licenses in their particular field. One of the things that we were able to obtain as a concession was a restriction on the amount of days, vacation days, to be carried forward from 1 year to the next. Currently, they're allowed to carry 15 days forward. That is reduced to 10 at the end of this calendar year and 5 at the end of the next calendar year. Again, the idea is we want employees to use their vacation during the year in which they earn it, and also by reducing this, by reducing the carry forward, it has a positive impact on our long-term liabilities in our financial statements.
So for all the reasons, the one thing I didn't ask in the last, for the firefighters, so I assume all of the unions that have settled to date are all getting 2, 2, and 2?
That's correct.
That's good. Good. All right. So for all the reasons I gave for the firefighters approval, I'm going to make a motion to approve the CBA Laborers Union amount of $343,850.
Thank you, Madam Dean. You've all heard a sense of the motion. On that motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. That has been approved. Thank you.
And the last matter on the agenda is a request of the mayor for a transfer of funds totaling $724,900 to fund the compensation increases for non-union employees for fiscal 20 and fiscal 21.
Madam Dean, you don't want to take us? No.
Well,
Councilor Mackin.
hold on a minute. I'm looking how to raise my hand. There we go. Okay. Yes, I'd like to take this. Thank you. So, so again, it's coming out of your budget, but so these are non-union employees. Are these employees listed in the compensation ordinance? Some of them?
All
All
of
of
them,
them.
yes, yes.
All of them?
These are department heads, assistant department heads, the clerical support staff, and other employees that are not affiliated with any particular union.
And is there a formula for this list of people? Excuse me, just, excuse me. Excuse me. I'm looking at the, well, I guess I have two. Oh, it's what you sent to the clerk and then the clerk gave it to us. So
Right.
am I assuming that there's a comparison here of the 2, 2, and 2 that the unions in the city are getting? Or how
Yes.
is the formula for this?
Right, no, the non-union, the compensation for the non-union employees is consistent with that of the unions. It's 2, 2, and 2.
Okay. And I'm looking at each of these. A question, so with some of these large numbers, say for example, the 5111 and the CPW full-time salary, do I assume that's distributed among a couple of people?
Well, it's more than a couple of people, Madam Vice Chair.
It's a lot of money.
There's a lot of money. There's probably, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm going to assume it's at least a dozen people.
Okay, that's fine. That in other words, that's not one for one person. That's throughout the department who are qualified.
Right, so that would include the director, the assistant director. There are 5 assistant superintendents, and there are a number of clerical support staff.
So when
that-
added together, the 3 years of compensation increase of 2, 2, and 2 comes to that amount of money. Is that right?
This is just for the first 2 years. The
Oh,
third
I'm
year,
sorry, for the first 2 years.
correct.
Right. Okay, and that's reasonable. After looking at some of the large increases here, I understand it now. So I'm going to make a motion for approval as well for the $724,900 for the non-union employees.
Thank you, Madam Dean. On the motion, Councilor Mackin.
Thank you. Most of my questions were asked by the dean, but I did want to clarify through you to the clerk of the committee. There's also an item in front of ordinances and rules tonight to modify the compensation ordinances for these same employees. Do we need to wait until that is approved, or does that just codify the rates that we're approving here in finance?
Right, that's a good question. So there are 2 parts here. One is to approve the funding, but the funding can't be distributed to the employees until the ordinance is approved also.
Okay,
So if you were to approve the funding, it can't be distributed until the ordinance has been approved.
okay. That makes a great deal of sense. Thank you for clarifying, and that's all of the questions I had on this matter. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Councilor. You've all heard a sense of the motion. On the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. That is approved. I believe that brings us to the end of the docket. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion. Councilor
Councilor,
McMenimen.
Madam Dean makes a motion to adjourn.
Thank you,
All
Mr.
those in
Chair.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned at 8:32. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Paul.
Good evening.
Ordinances and rules will be called to order in 1 minute. Mr. Clerk, I see you there.
I'm back. I was here the whole time, but I'm back.
Mr. Clerk, can you see, do we have everyone here?
I think so. I think Randy's here on a number. I'm just not sure which number it is.
719-5572.
I have that. I call the Ordinances and Rules Committee to order and ask the clerk to take the roll.
Yes. Councilor Darcy,
Present.
Councilor Dunn,
Present.
Councilor Harris,
Present.
Councilor LeBlanc.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, all members, Chairman McLaughlin. I didn't
Present.
call you. Mr. Chairman, all members are present.
Councilor Harris moves approval of the minutes from the November 2nd meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Clerk, if you could read the
There
first.
was another set of minutes too, Mr. Chairman.
What's the date on that, Mr. Clerk?
It was the October 19th meeting.
Councilor LeBlanc moves, I have that. Councilor LeBlanc moves approval of the October 19th minutes. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. If you could read the first matter.
The first matter is the amended compensation ordinance for non-union employees.
Madam Mayor, would you like to speak to that?
The request is to basically take the benefits section. Well, this is the compensation ordinance for the, yes, for the
Yes, it is.
non-union employees. Oh, this is the other one, I'm sorry.
No, they
this
just
is for-
approved, they just approved the money.
Okay, so this is basically to change the compensation ordinance to reflect the new pay rates. And that has to go to the council, has to be published, and then come back for another reading after publication.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any questions?
Okay.
Councilor Dunn moves approval of the non-union compensation ordinances submitted in a communication from the mayor last week. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. If the clerk can read the next matter.
Resolution concerning tenants' rights and a proposed ordinance.
Councilor Harris moves to hear from off-committee members. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Councilor Paz, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I see that you have a packed agenda today, so I'll make my remarks brief. The last Monday I introduced the draft tenant rights and resource ordinance to the council. Really, cooperation is the name of the game. In a time where roughly 40% of our city is at risk of eviction, this ordinance is an attempt to make evictions a more fair and just process. The ordinance itself requires landlords to inform tenants of their rights and resources when an eviction is taking place. It's really that simple. We want to guarantee housing stability by preventing unnecessary evictions. Big picture, stopping displacement requires us to build upon our rental assistance programs and establish a legal floor. What I want to impart on everyone is that, you know, everyone really wins when tenants know their rights and the resources available to them. To get a little bit specific into the draft of the ordinance, and I'm very open-minded if folks have other ideas or ways that we can achieve the same goal. But you know, it really is that simple. It's just ensuring that when there is a request to quit or a notice to non-renewal for a lease, it just means that a landlord would have to provide basically what's already in the Attorney General's website, which is a list of rights and resources that tenants have. It is important to note that the ordinance does not apply to rental units in any hospital, skilled nursing facility, or health facility, nonprofit facilities that have the purpose of providing short-term treatment and short-term rental units. And to make my remarks to shorten my remarks, you know, the landlord is required to give versions of these documents in both English and Spanish. I did add in the enforcing component, the housing division will be the enforcement entity. So not complying with the law set forth in this ordinance may result in penalization in the form of a penalty, which is of course a non-criminal disposition that should not exceed $500. Again, the goal here is to encourage landlords to work with their tenants and not punish them. Only by working together can we weather through this difficult juncture in our city's history. Again, cooperation is the name of the game. I look to invite Watch in future meetings, but I submitted this last week, so I'm sure folks need more time to review and develop questions.
Thank you, Councilor Paz. Any questions from committee members? The wish of the committee at this time.
I make a motion to lay that matter on the table. Councilor Harris.
Councilor Harris moves to table the matter. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Councilor Paz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, next matter.
Next matter is a time extension, New Creek LLC CBRE at 4953 Linden Street.
So we have, I want to say, oh, Mr. Attorney Fitzgerald, you're here, correct?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chairman.
So do you have anything new to add? Or are you just here to make sure the extension goes through?
Yeah, this time I'm just here to answer any questions with regard to the extension.
Okay. Committee members.
Mr. Chairman, there was an initial request and then a subsequent, just so that the committee knows that it's a little bit longer than the first. There are two letters, right, Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yeah, I can summarize briefly. So we were responding to two different issues. The first was to consent to an extension of time to reach final action on this matter. And so I submitted a letter on October 28th after consulting with Mr. Vizard, expressing our consent to extend the time for final action through January 22nd of 2021. And the second matter was at our last hearing, the committee had expressed its desire that we go to the Board of Survey and Planning and finish that process before coming back to the committee. And we did meet with the board on November the 4th at their meeting, and that hearing was continued to the board's next meeting on December the 2nd. So consequently, on November 10th, I submitted a letter requesting a continuance of this hearing to December 7th, which is the first date that the committee meets after the next board meeting.
Got them. Okay, very good. Anything to add, Mr. Clerk?
Nope.
Any questions from committee members? Councilor Dunn moves approval of the time extension for this project on Linden Street. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Attorney Fitzgerald.
Thank you very much. And just to confirm, so we're continued to December the 7th?
It's going to go out to the full council on Monday, and once they vote, you'll continue.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's a technicality, but it'll be all cleared as of Monday.
Okay, great. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, if you could read the next matter.
Next matter, time extension for the Grossman Companies Incorporated at 1111 Lexington Street.
Attorney Connors, I believe you're here for that matter, correct? Oh, unmute yourself.
My apologies. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Ordinance and Rules Committee. Yes, I'm here for the time extension. I've also heard potentially that the law department opinion is forthcoming. So I'd also like that it be considered that if it is released, that it's reviewed, to the counselors, that it's reviewed, redacted, and then ultimately released to us so we can provide comments.
Your crystal ball is working well tonight because that'll be our next action.
Perfect.
But okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Attorney Connors.
Thank you.
Councilor Darcy moves approval of the time extension for 1111 Lexington Street. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Councilor Darcy also moves that the clerk and I are allowed to review the legal opinion that we received from the law department on 1111 Lexington Street, redact if needed, and give a copy of that to the petitioner. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Attorney Connors.
Great, thank you very much.
Mr. Clerk, those are all the new matters, correct?
Those are all the new matters.
Okay, so Councilor Harris moves to take from the table the city benefits function, functions that are being transferred or requested transferred from Treasury to the Human Resources Department. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. I believe, do we have representatives here?
I make a motion to hear from all off-committee members, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Harris moves to hear from all off-committee members. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. I believe we have Mr. Magno here and Ms. Murphy and the mayor if she wants to chime in, but I would ask to hear from Mr. Magno first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
We can.
Welcome to all the committees. Good evening to everybody. I am here to just support this recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Magno. We appreciate that. Ms. Murphy, would you like to add anything to that? Kristen,
I'm
you're,
sorry, can
no,
you hear
you're
me?
okay. I do it all the time.
I agree. I also am here just to support the recommendation.
That's great. Thank you both for being here. Madam Mayor, do you have anything to add to that?
Mr. Chair, as I indicated, I wanted you to bring the departments in so they could say things. They do have some legitimate concerns about staffing on both ends of the treasurer and the HR. So that will be worked out at the point of our budget. So the timing of this would be after all the publications and all that, if the council approves it.
That's
But
great.
I have to have further discussion with both departments regarding how it will be implemented if it gets passed.
That's great. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Harris moves approval of this matter. All those in favor say aye.
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 Mr.
Mr.
Chairman,
Clerk,
just so that I get this, so do you want me to draft an order authorizing this, and then we'll work on like a change to the ordinance subsequent to that? Is that the plan?
let me defer to the mayor on that. Madam Mayor, I do assume we need an order for this to come out next week. Do you need anything additional beyond that that would require the action of the council?
I asked that a specific section of the city ordinances be changed. So that has to go to law for review as to form, because it's an ordinance. And then after they do that, they can get it published, then it would come back for another vote.
So two votes, but we need this to come out tonight first.
To come out so that the law department can, review it as to form.
So we can
it
send
be
that.
published.
Right, so we can send that to the law department from committee.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilor Harris moves that we send this matter to the law department to work on language with the ordinance as to form. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Ms. Murphy. Thank you, Mr. Magno. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councilors.
So what else am I looking at here, Mr. Clerk?
We got Deputy Chief Grant's here, so maybe he's the
I'm
next
sorry.
person.
I'm sorry. No, I know that. Yeah, I apologize. Deputy Chief Grant, how are you? Councilor LeBlanc moves to take the fuel storage permit resolution from the table. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Councilor LeBlanc moves to hear from all off-committee members. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Welcome, Deputy Chief Grant. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for
My
your
pleasure.
patience. So we have a communication from you. Can you just walk us through that?
Yes, is that the one, Assistant City Clerk Vizard got out to you guys today?
Yes.
Okay. So we had a meeting with Councilor Randy LeBlanc and Assistant Clerk Vizard, and we went through Section 8-105, the exceptions for the fuel storage licenses. And we felt that some of these exceptions were a little restrictive, and they didn't align with the state codes. So we're trying to get them a little more in line with the state fuel storage codes. So on Section A, we went from 660 to 1,000 gallons of the Class 2 diesel fuel for storing heating oil for consumptive purposes where stored. And this includes tanks that are associated with emergency generators. So I know the council does a lot with the fuel storage licenses with the emergency generators. So a tank, 1,000 gallons or less would not be, they would just need a permit from the fire department and not go through the license procedure with the city council. Unless the tank is buried underground. So if it's an underground storage tank, they would need a license. That's Class A. I mean, letter A.
Very good. Do you have anything else to add?
Well, I can run through I can run through A, B, C, D, and E, and F if you want. You want me to keep going?
Well, I'm thinking and ask the committee to jump in here if they see it fit. Councilor LeBlanc, you've been involved with this. My opinion would be run through your memo, and then we can go back and ask questions about it.
Okay.
I would agree.
All right. So B is pertains to propane storage. So a tank or tanks combined with a combined capacity of less than 500 gallons for storing propane for consumptive purposes were stored above ground. So residential propane installations, they can have 500 gallons or less and not require a license. So that's typically used for home heating or gas fireplace or gas stove, where they need smaller size tanks. And the second half of that is for the larger size tanks. So depending on the size of their home, they might want to heat everything and they need a larger tank. So letter B here, this aligns with the state LP gas code. So a tank or tanks combined capacity of 2,000 gallons or less used for storing propane for consumptive purposes where stored, provided that tanks above 500 gallons are buried underground. So you can have a tank larger than 500 gallons, but this city ordinance would say that it has to be buried underground. Letter C involves small quantities of inflammable or explosive materials and compounds for use for scientific research, medical or manufacturing purposes, provided that a total quantity of all such materials and or compounds stored on the premises does not exceed 5 pounds in weight. So this is for the labs we have in the city. And also D is the same thing. That D involves inflammable or explosive liquids used for scientific research, medical or manufacturing purposes. So these are in it. These are very restrictive numbers. The 5 pounds in weight for the compounds, and the D is the 2 gallons for the flammable liquids. These two things are covered under the EPA Right to Know Act. And also these companies, they're very self-policing. They report to the LEPC, our tier 2 reporting system. And that's done before March 1st every year. So to require these, it's almost, well, it's very redundant to have these people apply for the fuel storage license, in my opinion. They can get a permit from us, and because they do report to our LEPC chair, and we do get this information. And moving on to E. E was drafted here regarding temporary heat for construction. so buildings and or residences. So this says a tank holding propane, gasoline, and diesel fuel connected to a temporary electrical generator or a temporary heater. This involves getting a temporary permit from the Waltham Fire Department, providing that in no such case storage shall be exceed 180 days. So we're giving them 6 months for the temporary heat for the fall, winter, spring months when it's too cold for the construction to take place. And E is just we're not going to go touch E. That's just 20 gallons of gasoline for consumptive purposes for residences. And with that, if anyone has any questions, I can take them.
That's great, Deputy Chief. I'm going to go to Councilor LeBlanc first. This was his baby.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for attending, Deputy Chief Grant. Yeah, we did work on this a few times, and was to get rid of some of the redundancy. And I definitely appreciate your input and coming in front of the committee. What we were trying to achieve here is people coming in front of the city council basically for residential propane tanks for their house to heat with, and it's only going to increase the quantity of them. And what we were looking at is basically you have to go to the fire department, they have to follow all the NFPA guidelines. They still have to get a plumbing permit from the building department. And if anything, the larger tanks, if anything's over 5 feet tall, that would be considered a structure and require a building permit also. So there's just multiple people looking at this and checking on it. And the only thing that I would add is, so I believe we passed out a copy of Appendix 1 from the NFPA, which it basically states that any propane tank right now that is above ground, regardless of the city council or not, has to be, if it's 125 to 500 gallons, has to be 10 feet from the house and 10 feet from the lot line. So it's still got to be in the center of a 20-foot setback. And the 500-gallon tanks above ground, they would have to be, and this doesn't, anything we do doesn't affect this at all. It would have to be 25 feet from the lot line and 25 feet from the house. So it's fairly restrictive to have one of these tanks anyways. But we wanted to do was put on, and I'm going to add in maybe a line item change or a caution here, is the larger propane tanks, which, could be unsightly in someone's yard, and we didn't really want to just open that up. So anything basically 500 gallons, or we should possibly make it just like the NFPA. It's 500, anything over 501 gallons. The requirement is that it would be buried underground, so you wouldn't have a, gigantic tank in the yard. But I guess we should probably say if it's anything over 501 gallons, that it would require a fuel storage permit from the city council. That way there, if there was an instance, we wouldn't be saying you cannot have one, because if there was an instance of ledge or it couldn't be buried or the water table was too high and they needed that quantity, then that would require a fuel storage permit so that we could then sort of regulate the location of that. And that's all I have. And again, thanks for coming in, Deputy Grant.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Councilor LeBlanc. Other questions from the committee members? So I know in Chief Deputy Grant, we appreciate the fact that you you provided this information to us. I know some of the committee members may not have had the chance to digest it yet, but if there are questions that pop up, we may reach back out to you again.
That's fine.
What is the wish of the committee at this time?
Thank you very much. And I don't have a problem if someone wishes to table this, or if we want to start drafting something up to act on this. So I'll yield the floor momentarily.
So,
Mr. Chairman?
Councilor Harris.
Thank you. I do think there's been extensive discussion and deliberation on this. I think I want to thank Deputy Grant for his work and the councilor from Linden Circle who have kind of brought this to the forefront. I think it's going to be impossible for this committee to draft something that would meet where the law department would like it to go. I think where we need to go is I'll make a recommendation. I'll make a motion to send this to the law department for an initial draft of the ordinance change, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. You've heard the sense of the motion.
On the motion.
On the motion, Councilor LeBlanc, then Councilor Darcy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chief. And I just want to make one line item change, if that's okay, to this document, which is 501 gallons are buried underground or require fuel storage license from the city council.
You're talking about item B?
That is correct.
It already reads that way.
Okay.
Because if it's not, basically what that is, it's a list of exemptions, right? So
yes,
if it says that the tank, if it's over 500 gallons and it's not underground, the way that it's written, it triggers the need for a license.
Okay, thank you very much. Then I withdraw my request for amending it.
It is confusing because we're exempt, but basically the default, if it's not listed, means it needs a license.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. All set, Councilor Darcy, Councilor LeBlanc?
I am, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Darcy?
I'm fine. My questions have been answered.
Thank you, Councilor Darcy. So on the motion to send this to the law department, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Deputy Chief Grant.
Anytime. Thank you.
So, Mr. Clerk, I know there's one other matter Councilor LeBlanc is going to take from the table, but before we go there, is there anything additional that needs to happen with the 1111 Lexington Street?
No, we did a time extension, right?
There was nothing beyond that?
And you guys voted to release the opinion.
We did. Okay.
That was it. Yeah, I put it on the agenda because we got the law opinion back.
Gotcha. Councilor LeBlanc moves to take the resolution to exempt municipal projects from zoning. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Councilor LeBlanc.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is something we've been chasing around for a little while. And do we have, I know Assistant Clerk Vizard provided us with some documents. I believe there was two law department opinions on this? And I believe one was dated July 31st and one was February 1st. Did all committee members get that?
I sent the most recent one. The first one was limited to residential. That opinion, I thought, and I can send that one out again, but I thought that you had broadened the scope since then.
As I read it, and maybe Mr. Chairman or Mr. Clerk could give me their opinion on this, is we have two opinions, and I read them, two separate opinions, and I read them both, and I wasn't quite clear on them. Does anyone ever seek two opinions to be merged and slightly clarified, or does that not happen?
Well, do you have a question that came, you're talking about the law department opinions?
That is correct.
So, yeah, there's a part one, there's a part two. In addition to that, the clerk also sent out Mr. Forte's memo from October of last year. I mean, the opinions typically stand on their own. If we have a question about a specific opinion, we can call, in this case, Attorney Azadi in to speak about it.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll yield the floor to comments and questions from councilors.
Okay.
If they have any.
Comments or questions from other committee members? I'm not seeing any right now. Councilor LeBlanc, would you want Attorney Azadi to come in? Can you articulate what your question is? Is it on the first part or the second part?
So we have the first one dated February 1st. And that was the one that we added in to, except for public housing developments on municipal properties. And there was, on the opposite one, on July 31st, it was on Article 5, it was the zoning governs parking. There are no specific parking requirements identified for municipal buildings. So I guess I would say to have her in because she sort of stated it was something that was in contrary to what Mr. Forte had stated. So yep. I guess I would request her to come in at her earliest convenience. And then we could have a list of questions for her and I could provide them to the clerk.
Excellent. So Councilor LeBlanc moves to ask Attorney Azadi to come in to the next meeting that we have, or the first next is available. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Clerk, can you reach out to Attorney Azadi and see if we can get her in?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilor LeBlanc moves to place this matter back on the table. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. What is the wish of the committee?
Motion to adjourn.
Councilor Harris moves to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Dean. And thank you, Deputy Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, good night, everybody.
Good night.